Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of the Lost Clan series by Olivia Wildenstein. Number 3 is Rising Silver Mist. So in this book, Kat is coming still into her powers. She decides to train with Kajika to figure out how to use her hunter powers. Because he's like, whoa, you've got a tattoo, you've killed a fairy. And she's like, yeah, I've killed the fairy. So he's like, are you a hunter now? And she's like, I haven't decided, so I'm not. But also in this book, she's actually like really friends with Kajika and she likes him as a friend. But then she's starting to like Ace as more than a friend. And he's also been in this book stepping up to help. And so they start to date. So but she does not tell Kajika. So Kajika is still in love with her while she's kind of dating Ace on the down low. Stealing the book from the general to get the spell to take off the mark and transfer it. The repercussions have come to pass and they realize Lily was the one who stole it. And Cruz told on her, was like, hey, I mean, Lily was the one that took the book. Instead of like, having her back because he's her fiance, And so Lily breaks off their engagement. She's like, it doesn't matter how much I love you or our history. Like, you did some shiesty stuff to me. We're done. We're through. Because Lily has now, broken up this really important engagement that been set for years. Her father kind of disowns her. And I was like, well, you're of no purpose to me. So they kicked her out of Nevera and she's to live off her last days on Earth. So with your fairy, you can't just live on Earth indefinitely. You have to go back and forth to Nevera to recharge your fairy batteries in a sense. So she's pretty much has 6 months to live while she's on Earth. Ace is like, can you please let Lily stay with you until her days are done? So every fairy that goes back and forth through the portal, they have a certain, like, they call it the key. And so your arm like lights up and it activates the doorway so you're allowed to go through. They mess up the key so that Lily can no longer activate the portal to go back and forth, to go back to Nevera to recharge her batteries. Oh, so prior to this, in book 3, Cruz comes to redeem one of his 3 favors from her. And that favor is, ask me to marry you. And she's like, what? I'm not going to do that. He's like, so he forces her to get engaged with him. And of course, Ace finds out and is like, oh, so you break up with me and then you freaking get married to or engaged to my best friend. So that like totally breaks whatever relationship possibility that they had. She's making this sacrifice and going along with Cruz so that he doesn't hurt Ace. Going to Fairy and she's introduced to the king and she's introduced to their world and she finds out Danielis is a type of fairy which they have the ability to go back and forth to Earth without needing to recharge. They can live equally in Nevera and on Earth. They also have the ability to control water, and they were the ones who created the mist to hold all the royals and all the upper echelon up into the air. But they also have the ability to bring it all down. So those Sealies decided to kill them all so that they won't have the ability to take down the mist. And Kat finds out she's like one of the last living Danielis left on the world. So if anybody finds out, they're going to kill her. We find out that Cruz is not actually a bad guy. He's actually had this huge super plot that was to, trick Lily, trick Ace, get Kat over to the fairies, over to Nevera, and to activate her fairy side so that she can develop her powers and bring down the mist, i.e. bringing down the bad king. Or the plan is on the day of their wedding ceremony, when they're going to be at the castle, Kat and there's a part of the ceremony where both Kat and Cruz's arms or hands go into this cauldron of power, and it like takes their essence and swaps it. So you kind of get a essence swap between both the spouses, the husband and wife. That's how their ceremony is. So when they're up doing the cauldron thing, that's when Kat's supposed to use her power and absorb the water that's in the cloud, and simultaneously then Cruz is going to grab her and they fly off to safety. But because Ace is now part of this plot, Cruz does one major like best friend move, and he grabs Ace's hand and sticks it in the pot in the cauldron with Kat's hand and marries them together, which pisses off the king. They take Ace and they're like, oh, we're gonna punish you. How could you do this? The king's yelling at him. It's like, how could you do this, son? And so they take him, put him in the torture chamber. And so Kat loses it. Her powers super manifest, and instead of doing a gradual drop and receding of the water in the silver mist cloud thing that holds up the castle, she just like dissolves it and the whole thing falls. And as it's falling, she jumps up on the cage to like get to Ace, who's now her husband, and she loves him and she doesn't want him to be tortured. And then she's also yelling for Cruz to come help her fly her up to the cage, but he's like fighting his mom, who's a dragon right now. It's like chaos. So she managed to get to Ace. He ends up opening the cage like, it's okay. Like, we had to do that to make you really upset so you can have the power to take down the silver mist. So they find out this was a subplot on top of the plot, because she also didn't know that she was going to get married to Ace instead of Cruz. So this is like the tertiary plot, and they bring down the castle and they become the new rulers of Fairy. So book 3 has a lot of action that happens, faux show. Now, technically book 3 can be the end, but we still have like a lot of things that we have no idea what's happening with, you know? So now that she is married with Ace, that she wants to, Cruz is like, you know, what's happening with him? Like, is he going to go back with Lily? But he realizes that because of Lily's punishment, he needs to get her back to Fairy so that she doesn't have to die now, because, you know, she's technically not banished now that they killed her, the king. Now that the king's killed, her brother's now the king. So they're like, now we can bring Lily back over here. Then they find out the person who makes the key to open up the portals has perished during this chaos. And so now they have to find the key to the portals to recreate a new type of key for your arm, or like code for the arm to open up the portals. So that's pretty much where book 3 ends. We find out in book 3 that Lily and Kajika are bound with the same hunting mark that Ace and Kat has. But for some reason, because Lily is mute, instead of just showing emotion, she can now communicate with Kajika in her mind. Book 4, called Raging Rival Heart, is in Lily's point of view, and it's all about getting Lily back to Navera before she dies. Like, this is probably like 3 to 4 months later, so she's got like 8 weeks to figure this out. They're doing several different things. At one point, they figure out what the key looks like. It happens to look like a golden acorn, which is totally random. And they get, the general is actually on their side, and they get him to manipulate the code on some of the people's arms, and then it ends up blocking out other people. So there's this whole chaos. And then her and Kat end up having this conversation, and Lily decides, you know what? I'm going to see if I can find the rest of the Danilis for Kat. Because, you know, she's my sister now. Lily decides to go on an adventure, And because Kajika is connected to her on his via the mark, he's like, well, I can't let you go by yourself. I'm now responsible for you. Like, you're about to die. She goes out and she finds and she goes looking for the Danilis with Kajika, and she finds them. And while her and Kajika is like, you know, figuring out how to approach them and such, or just figuring out like where they are, they actually already came across them, and the Danilis end up kidnapping them and torturing them, and then they have to get saved by Kat and Ace and Cruz. And we also find out that a last resort for Lily to be able to get rid of her her broken code is if the person who did the bargain with her dies. And so Cruz was the one who happened to get her in trouble. So he's connected to the bargain that was struck that broke their engagement and kicked her out of Navera in the first place. So they pull out a wild card. They're like, there's a poisonous bug inside Navera. We can use this poison to slow down Cruz's heart, and that will make it pretend like he died, and it'll deactivate the code that is on your hand, so that we could put a new code on your hand and you can come to Fairy. So they find the bug, they make the extraction, they give it to Cruz, and it's like, how long is it going to take? So they're watching her, they're observing her, they're doing the countdown, and so like it's supposed to be like 5 minutes, which is 15 minutes in humans in the Earth realm, so it's like 10 minutes going, and then Lily's like blacking out. She's like, it's not going to work, so she ends up blacking out, and she ends up waking up, and she's in Fairy. So it worked. So she made it through. They were able to give her like a new code, and she survived. She was able to recharge her fairy dust and everything. But Cruz died. He decided, instead of taking you're supposed to take a lower amount of the poison and slowly increase it. He told the general, give me the entire syringe because I've got to save Lily. So he did confess his love to her. He's like, I've always loved you. I was just a fool. You know, you've always meant everything to me ever since they were kids. And he's like, I love you. And so I would do anything for you. And that's what was a speech he gave before he took the poison. And then he sacrificed himself for Lily in the end. And so of course Lily's sad, but during their whole like adventure, her and Kajika had found out that they're really made for each other, and so her and Kajika ends up being together. And Cruz was the death out of the main crew, which sucked, but I was just like, man, he definitely redeemed himself, and I'm proud, but like, oh, it's so sad at the same time. So yeah, that is the Lost Clan series. I rate this series, it's mixed. Okay, so the first book, I would give it a 3 because I was just like, eh. But the second book, I gave it a 4. I was like, okay. But the third book is a 5 because I could not put it down. I was like, oh my gosh, with the way that Cruz like totally tricked them and forced him to marry her after she broke up with Ace to protect him, like too much drama. I was like, oh no, definitely, this is a 5. This is a 5. And then book 4, I gave it a 4. Like, I wanted to know what happened to Lily, but I was also okay if I didn't read. The series is a 4. I think now that I read book 4, I'm glad that I did. It does complete the series. Hope you guys check it out. Actually, I liked it. It was a lot of different suspenseful things, and there's a whole bunch of other subplots that was going on with who's connected to who, and baby mama drama and baby daddy drama that's happening. So like, share, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.